What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we got Evan here with me today. We're gonna be doing a cool hairstyle as always, but today we're gonna be doing a textured mod. Now, I kind of want to stay away from the idea of doing such a mod look where everything's just pressed together against the head. Today, I'd rather want to go with something a little bit more airy, a little bit more flowy, and something that's a little bit more natural on a day-to-day basis. As you guys can tell, Evan clearly came in with very overgrown hair in general, but where do we notice the most grown out portion of this haircut? I'm sure you guys can tell right away, as well as the fringe is just overgrown way too long, right? So our main goal today, right, with this haircut is to expose his face. And how are we gonna do that? By making all the areas blend in nicely with the fringe. Because the only way for Evan's haircut to be exposed in the fringe and for the face to be exposed is the fringe to become shorter, right? Now, if I were to just go in and blunt cut the fringe and cut it shorter, it would look terrible. So we need to make sure we know how to blend in the layers on the side as well as the back so it can cohesively fall into the fringe. Okay, so the main focal point of the day is gonna be our fringe, and everything else is gonna sit naturally to that. Yeah, let's get right into this video. We'll start off with our breakdown of the haircut as always. Let's get into it. All right, guys, let's get down to the breakdown of this haircut. Probably one of my most favorite portions when I'm doing a haircut, because this excites you and gets you ready for the outcome of the haircut, and you can kind of start imagining as an artist, you know, what this haircut's actually gonna look like towards the end. Now, what I noticed, like I said, in the front, way too long, way too heavy. This is gonna be our biggest problem of the haircut, okay? But because it's the biggest problem, we have to think the most and have some game plan before we just go into the fringe and attack it, okay? So first thing that I noticed, way too heavy, way too long. But what do I notice from the sides? Always read the head shape. Parietal ridge likes to dip in, okay? And has a very narrow dip, okay? So his head shape isn't too wide. He has a pretty narrow head shape, and the dip is quite large. So we have to build some weight in these corners, okay? All right, same thing here, breaking down the haircut exactly the same way every single time. The back of the head, the crown into the nape. What do I notice in the crown? What do I notice in the nape? Something quite funny here is that I don't actually realize too big of a difference from the crown and the nape. Usually there's a big dip, right, in the nape right here, but actually his crown is quite flat and his nape doesn't protrude in too much. So we don't have to worry about removing too much weight in the nape, but we have to make sure that we build enough weight in the crown because his crown is quite flat. If we create a flat shape in the back, what's gonna end up happening is his natural head shape is never gonna be complemented. Rather, it's just gonna lay flatter. So we have to build some weight, you know, and make sure to maintain some weight, okay? So a little bit difference of a process here is that it's not gonna be too concave in this case scenario because his crown is flat and his nape doesn't dip too in, okay? Breakdown is pretty simple, I would say, for this haircut. Overall, what I'm really focusing on is choice of length, right? He has a lot of hair, and this is not a haircut that's gonna expose too much of his head shape. So with that being said, that's my simple breakdown. I don't like to break down these haircuts in a complicated way, especially when this is not a complicated haircut, right? Very simple haircut. It just has to be all about the choice of length and the execution, okay? So textured mod, here we go. Next steps is gonna be sectioning, so let's get into that. All right, so whenever I section, you always want to take natural patterns and you always want to read the natural growth pattern of the hair. So in this case, this cowlick right here in the back is what I need to read, okay? This is what's gonna identify and indicate if the hair wants to naturally separate a certain way. So we'll start on the left side here, okay? What I can notice is it starts a little bit lower than my right side, right? So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a nice horizontal line from the cowlick of that left side, right in the middle, all the way down to behind the ear. Okay, so from here, we're gonna take that and boom, we're just gonna separate that out of the way. Same thing on the other side. From that cowlick, okay, this time it starts a little bit higher on the right side, as you guys can tell. From there, we're gonna take it all the way to the bottom and take it right behind the ear. Separate that out of the way. Okay, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but you guys can just see that the hair naturally splits so well and it's not forced in any direction, right? Everything is seamless and wanting to lay exactly where it's at. The side, it's very important to read the roundness of the head at the parietal ridge. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place my comb and I'm gonna dip it down, okay? And it's at the very beginning of this dip, which is right here, where you wanna begin the section. Now, where do you want point B to be, where you end it? You want it to be at the corner of the hairline. So point A, at the beginning of this dip, point B is gonna be at the corner of your hairline. So all you need to do is go from the roundness into the corner of the hairline. So you just need to read where the corner of the hairline is. Boom, there it is. Okay, bring this down and boom. Bring this down. Okay, and just isolate that nicely out of the way. Same thing with the right side. Dip your comb down, and at the beginning of that bend, you start your section all the way into the recession point. Okay. Corner of the hairline, boom, boom. Okay, and we're gonna isolate the top here. Now I wanna show you guys how to isolate this properly. Okay, comb is gonna be slightly bent for maximum tension. Bring one into the middle, okay, into the palm, one to the right, into the palm, and one from the left into the palm. This is gonna maximize the tension in all areas, and that's where you can begin spinning and creating that pressure onto the ball, okay? Once you get it in one loop, okay, grab that ball, tighten it up, and you place your clip right on top. Okay, it's not at the ball, it's at the tip, okay? For the sides, all I'm gonna do is push this over, okay, push this over, and place my clip. Okay, and that's it. Nice and simple. We've isolated the back, and now we have one zone that we can work with. All right, so we're gonna be starting with the back here, and I wanna show you guys how to take the choice of length in the back. Now, one thing that I know is that I really like the weight back here. I like the weight. So choice of length with length, I feel like I can control when it's dry. So I don't wanna really touch too much of this nape area right here. Rather, I wanna leave it nice and long so that I can touch it up while it's dry. So let's just get right into our layering. I'm just gonna go ahead and take a vertical section straight through the middle. Isolate that out of the way. Another section straight through the middle. And all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull a little horizontal section out. Pull that out, okay? It doesn't need to be too big. Just a slight horizontal section out, and I'm gonna turn the chair a little bit. Now, because I still wanna create a slight concave silhouette in the back, I need to figure out where I want this layer to dip. Okay, where it wants to dip in. So the choice of length is gonna be taken horizontally because I wanna figure out where I'm gonna start to dip. So I want you to imagine where it's gonna build weight, how this is gonna build weight, and then where it's gonna start snugging into the head shape. So the choice of length that I'm gonna go with is gonna start snugging right around there. I'm just gonna pull this down, let go of the tension, and that's where I'm gonna take my choice of length. Now from here, I'm gonna pull this layer up, and because I wanna maintain the weight at the nape, I'm gonna pull this directly on base. I'm gonna create my layer and connect it into that line. So I've built a small corner at the top, and everything swoops right down. Now I'm gonna pull the rest of these layers up, and because these are the hairs at the nape, elevate it all the way. I'm just gonna point cut this in. Okay, what this is gonna do is gonna build a small corner at the top, dip it in, and it's just gonna have everything lay heavy towards the nape. Okay, second section through, straight through, boom, boom. Now we're gonna pick the same thing up and we're gonna cut this horizontally round. Horizontally round meaning we're gonna stay on base using the guide before, using the same exact guideline that we followed in the previous guide. Okay, so pick it up, boom, check your guide. Okay, and since there's a corner here, pull out just a little bit. And then at the bottom here, we're just gonna elevate everything up once again. Third guide through, we're gonna begin pivoting just slightly. Is the angle good though? Okay, we're gonna begin pivoting slightly so that we can have more consistent sections throughout the haircut. Boom, boom. We're gonna pick this up now. If you don't see a guide, make sure not to cut it. Boom, there's my guide. Corner that's been built up. And we're just gonna elevate all of this up. Nice and high. Okay, so we're working with 3 different shapes here. A slight triangle into a round into another triangle, okay? Last section here, pull this over, boom, there's my guide, okay? So I can begin by point cutting this in, okay? Dips into a round shape, into another triangle. And the rest of this we can just elevate all the way up and just cut whatever's left. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing for the other side. Okay, now I'm pushing rather than pulling because I still wanna stay on base. Okay, finish off that triangle on top. I'm just gonna pivot out just slightly, okay? Pivoting so that I can create some more sections here. I'm pushing rather than pulling this entire section. Okay, and everything at the bottom, I'm just slightly elevating. Last section over, very last section, same thing, pull. Should be ending up with 2 triangles here. Now we have that nice movement in the back and everything is just laying so much softer. Okay, nothing's too heavy or overgrown. Let's move on to the sides. We're gonna be moving on to the sides now. And I want you guys to understand that we're gonna begin some disconnection on the sides here. So you don't have to worry about this blending right into the back. Rather, we're gonna start a new guide and we're gonna just completely separate the sides from the back, okay? So let's just get this out of the way and we're gonna start a new choice of length in the sides here. So I'm gonna take a first section and we're gonna do some forward graduation actually. And I'm gonna take this section right here to be my guide for my entire section. I want it to be quite tight around the ears because I want the ears to be exposed a little, but I still want some length towards the sideburns. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna elevate the sideburns up and I'm gonna go nice and tight around the ears. Okay, so one more time, take that guide right here and I'm just twisting into a square line. Okay. And boom, there we have our first guide. Second guide goes in, and obviously, since we're graduating now, we're gonna be over directing this back to previous. Okay, so elevate, bring this all out first, okay, and same thing here, pull and twist into a square line. One more time, pull, and twist and square line. You guys see that guide? Once you see that guide, we can just go ahead and make our incision. Elevate this higher. And our very last guide here, we're gonna just do the same thing. Okay, pull, find your guide. Once the guide is found, okay, all you're doing is cutting that into a nice square guide. Okay, pull, check your guide, boom. And what you're gonna end up with is some really cool movement, have some flow here on the sides. So we have the last portion of this haircut, which is the top left, and the sides and the back have all been cut. Now we know that this part is gonna be our focal point of the haircut, so we need to choose a good choice of length. Now I wanna take my choice of length right around this area because I feel like it'll seamlessly blend in with the sides, and I also feel like bringing out his bottom half of his face would be ideal. Bringing out too much of the forehead, I feel like would slim his face down. Rather, I want something a little bit wider and heavier up top so that his face itself doesn't look too slim. He has quite a slimmer face shape, okay? So I want to do something that's kind of matching his natural silhouette of his face. So the focal point of this haircut is actually going to be right around the eyebrows. So let's go ahead and take our choice of length starting. All right, guys, so we're going to be taking the choice of length in the fringe now, our focal point of this haircut. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and isolate just a little area as my perimeter for my fringe. Now what splitting the hair directly down the middle is gonna do for me is it's gonna give me a midpoint to work with. And this midpoint is gonna act as my guide for both the left and the right side, okay? Now, I want you guys to read his hairline real quick. What do we notice about the hairline, guys? It tends to peak a little bit higher towards the corners. That means my guide that I take for my perimeter in the fringe here also has to match that because we want even density in the front. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start on this right side here and we're gonna take a little bit matching his hairline and we're just gonna bring it down. This is where I can decide if I like this density or if I wanna make it a little bit heavier. Because this density feels a little bit sparse for me, I'm gonna bring a little bit more hair out so that we can fill out that density. That to me feels a little bit better. So we're kind of playing by ear and we're gonna go ahead and clip this up. Now we have a guide to work with, and on the other side, I can just go ahead and copy and paste that guide that I've created on the left side onto the right. And now we have a nice perimeter that we can work with. I'm gonna grab my feather razor and I'm gonna start at the middle. I'm gonna use my middle as my midpoint once again, and we're gonna go left and right. The reason why I'm using slight elevation right here is because I don't want this to sit too heavy. Rather, I want it to have a softer finish towards the ends. So elevating a little bit rather than one lengthening it completely is gonna add a little bit of softness to my fringe. Bring that up. Line's gonna sit right there, so I'm gonna bring that up. I'm gonna one like that. Remove that out of the way. Turn your head a little bit for me. Okay, pull, elevating it just a little bit. Okay, and I'm following that line, nice and square. Okay, and as I get to the sides here, watch what I do. I blend this in with the length from the sides. Okay, and it's just gonna blend in seamlessly. Okay, same thing here. We're gonna pick this fringe up and we're just gonna match this length in. Gonna pick this up and we're just gonna softly tap at it. And as I get to my side here, same thing. I'm just gonna blend this in to the sides. And that's just gonna blend in beautifully with my sideburns here. All right, once the fringe is set in, we're gonna go ahead and comb this all down. And I'm gonna take a nice vertical guide straight down the middle. Boom, boom. Okay, clip this up and out of the way. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab this section. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna grab this section, but I'm gonna start my layer at the disconnection, right where the disconnection likes to end, okay? So from this disconnection, right where it likes to end, we're gonna bring this line up, and I'm just gonna cut this nice and square. Second section goes in, okay? And because I'm working on a round surface in these corners, I'm gonna go with the horizontally square shape. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna over direct this section back to its previous so that this section is gonna be a little bit longer than my previous. So boom, pull it up, check my guide. There's my guide. Pull, pull. Create my third section. Now once I create my third section, I want to remove one of the past sections. So I'm only moving 2 sections at a time. Okay, this way I can work clean and I can check my over direction. Okay, so 3 goes into 2, 2 went into 1. Pick that up. Boom. Okay, maximizing that tension. Check your guide. Last section, okay, which is the 4th section. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get all the hairs on the side and I'm gonna push everything up back into 3. Okay, so grab all the hairs on the side, just like so. Okay, grab all the hairs on the side, pull everything up. Check my guide, and whatever hasn't been cut, just cut it in. Same thing here. Everything goes up, and whatever hasn't been cut is gonna get cut. Okay? Nice and easy. We're gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, finishing off this left side here. Now at this point, it doesn't really matter whether I start from the front or the back. I have a guide that's indicated, so I can just follow that guide, over direct back to previous, and everything is gonna come out exactly the same how it's supposed to. Last guide over. Again, grabbing this guide and I'm pushing everything that's left on this side into my third guide. Boom. Check my guide, there it is. Everything over. Pull. And there's a very big disconnection from the fringe into the sides. Now I'm gonna decide if I wanna touch that up when it's dry. All the disconnections right now, right, even in the back, I'm gonna touch it up if I want to when it's dry, depending on if it looks good or not. Okay, I'm gonna be using some texture clay by Mason's Pomade, some unreleased product. Use a good amount just because he has a lot of hair. Okay, this is basically gonna shape out the haircut for me. Really run it through the hair, making sure everything is nicely saturated with the product. We're gonna give this look a rough blow dry. I'm gonna start at the cowlick here, pinch, and I go clockwise, everything on high. Okay, once that's locked in, we're gonna give this haircut a rough blow dry and dry it up to 70%. And I'm really hitting the roots. The roots is what I'm really focusing on. Mark, we're gonna go ahead and throw our attachment on there, okay? And we're gonna grab our round brush and we're gonna begin shaping. I'm gonna go ahead and start shaping the back, flatten the nape, and bring out the crown. Heat goes on low, okay? Before shaping, the heat will go on low. For the sides, I'm gonna blow dry it forward so that I can really emphasize that forward graduation. I'm just gonna go ahead and check out this general shape. The areas that I like, and so one of the areas that I'm not currently liking is this connection from the top into the sides. It just feels way too heavy for me, and at the moment I definitely want to blend this in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up that disconnection. I'm just gonna comb everything down naturally. I'm just gonna pick up that disconnection. I'm gonna look for that disconnection. I'm gonna elevate it slightly. Look for that. There's the guide. And I'm just gonna razor of that in. And that's gonna create a little bit of more of a softer silhouette for me. Now there's this connection towards the back as well. I'm gonna pick that up, okay? I'm just gonna slightly soften up at this connection. Same thing on the other side. I'm literally just gonna visually blend this disconnection in by tapping everything down, looking for that disconnection. Okay, my comb throws under, grab that disconnection, so boom, comb goes under, check my guide, there it is, pull it out, and I'm softening up that disconnection. Okay, I'm just playing by ear. I'm more visually attacking this than doing it technically, okay? This connection in the back too, all I'm gonna do is boom, take that out, grab this section right here, find that disconnection, I'm just gonna soften that up. One more time, boom. Soften that up, okay? And we have everything blending in a little bit more seamlessly. The length in the back, I don't love, so I want to trim it down a little bit shorter, but taking that choice of length is going to be quite important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on this right side here, okay? I like that choice of length right there, but I want this area to sit a little bit shorter. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and begin by removing some of this weight in the middle. Using my feather razor, I'm just removing some of that weight. Once I like the weight that's sitting, that's where I'm gonna remove some of that length. And to me, that length just looks so much better. So same thing on the other side. Remove some of that weight. Once I like the weight that's sitting, okay, all I'm gonna do is shorten down the length. Same thing on this right side here. Start by removing some of that weight. So that's the choice of length that I'm gonna choose to go with for both sides. Okay, so we're just gonna get into this very last step of this haircut is softening, and then we're gonna get into styling. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this hair horizontally, okay, pull forward, and remove some of that weight. And soften some of this up. Go straight into the middle. Boom. Okay, we're just breaking up those hairs. So one, it could absorb the product better, but two, we could just lighten that up because there's still a lot of weight that doesn't need to be there. So we're just breaking up these hairs so it can naturally just sit a lot better. I think for the crown, softening up some of this crown area. And then the nape, I'm just gonna slightly slide cut into some of these areas to break it up even more. Sliding into a lot of these areas just so I can break that nape up. All right, post-styling product of choice, I'm gonna use some texture powder, finish it off with some matte pomade and some hairspray. So let's just go ahead and add some texture powder through the hair. Okay, so this finalization, like this styling part is like more of a touch and feel type of area. You're just kind of going with whatever feels good and you're kind of styling to your own preference at this point, okay? Add some cream too. And I'm just gonna lock in some areas that need a little bit more hold, the cream. These two products really mesh well together when trying to create texture. So I'm really trying to emphasize that by adding as much texture as possible to this look. comb to finalize the styling of how I want everything to lay. So once I have the general texture on there, there's ways where I want things to lay, and I'm gonna use my comb to really accentuate that. Okay, you can use a styling comb, you can use a sectioning comb. That is kind of up to preference. Okay, so I'm just touching and touching. Any areas that I need to remove, I'm also removing. Okay, if I feel like an area needs to be shorter, this is the part where I'm doing so. Just making sure that everything is sitting perfectly. This is a time where I'm really just going in, right? And this is where I spend a good amount of my time. As you guys know, like anyone that's attended an in-person class from myself, is that I don't take styling lightly, and this is definitely the part where I feel like the haircut really comes together. So sure that everything is just flowing. Once I like a certain area too, that's also your cue to stop touching it. You can't just keep touching at an area that already looks so great. I'm gonna go in with my hairspray as I finalize this look. Okay. Alright guys, so this is my final demo for my session today. Like I said, textured mod. Really bringing out the head shape of Evan's natural head shape, complementing everything naturally. As you guys can see from the front, really bringing out his face so that you can really see what kind of haircut that we've created up top as well. But yeah, we're gonna give you guys the final look of this demo so you guys can kind of see what I've created, but I hope you guys enjoyed. These are the looks that are gonna set you apart as an artist, so I want you guys to always practice harder haircuts that you don't do every day inside the shop. Always make sure to find models and slowly start increasing your clients into more of a creative outlet. This is gonna be my final look for demo of today. I'm gonna show you guys the final look now.